PlayStation remains one of my favourite entertainment brands. If you're not calling people the N-word in Uncharted 4 multiplayer, you're doing something wrong with your life. But as a YouTuber, I'm legally obligated to make negative video essays about things that bring me happiness. So today we're looking at the time they fucked up. Rewind to 2012. The world ended, people are unironically, I think, listening to Gangnam Style, and PlayStation are at an important nexus point in their history, the launch of a new system and the final full year of their current home console. So you'd think this would be a remarkable period for them. They need to give people a reason to buy this hot new product while also going into the next generation with momentum. What we got instead though was high profile exclusive bomb after high profile exclusive bomb, leading to what I consider the low point of PlayStation. First, there was a collection of games that weren't outright terrible, but didn't meet PlayStation's usual standards. There was Ratchet & Clank Full Frontal Assault. The game took the beloved Ratchet & Clank formula of platforming while defeating foes with creative weaponry and applied it to the genre that obviously fits perfectly with this, to tower defense. You roam a battlefield and take over nodes to access the enemy's base, while collecting currency to upgrade your base, which you have to defend occasionally. It's a lot more fun than this Wikipedia sounding ass description sounds, most notably because of the emphasis on exploration thanks to the hover boots and sprawling level design, but the issue here came from, well, everything else. The game could be completed in a few hours. The villain is some obscure ass side character from Ratchet 2 that you wouldn't even know about unless you went for 100% completion in that game. This would actually be really cool, except this character is some cringy stereotype that speaks in 2009 internet slang. In this 2012 game. If you thought that kid from Revenge of the Sith aged badly, then wait until you play this.
You're nothing but one big epic fail! Engaging shields like a boss!
I'm Elite Hexor with Uber Ponage, XD. You're a noob, so I'll wafflecopter like a boss as I make you an epic fail, rawr. Then I'll post 2 girls, 1 cup to your mind. There's also a sequence where your ship is hacked and forced to play the Trollolol song. What the fuck did they do to you? And why the fuck do I own the Ratchet & Clank movie novelization? So, I personally really like this game, in part because it's a time capsule of that dark era. My admiration for Boxy is the whole reason I dropped out of my anti-women hate group, but looking at this game with the internet's favourite term, objectively, it's a questionable release. Although, it's not surprising Americans don't like a game about defending your base, because they're not very good at it. Speaking of the land of the free, there was Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, the first Assassin's Creed with a female protagonist, and to this day, one of the only entries of this powerhouse series to initially release as a PlayStation exclusive. By all accounts, this game should have been a big deal. I mean, again, I personally really enjoyed this game, as it impressively translated the full Assassin's Creed experience to a handheld, excessive tailing missions, a gorgeously realised world with nothing to do in it, a tacked on multiplayer that everyone forgets existed. It truly makes you feel like Ubisoft is fucking you in the ass. However, that's why many didn't like it, as it was fundamentally that Assassin's Creed formula that people were already getting tired of at this point, but watered down even more. This was punctuated by 2 things. 1, the story. This is the part where I would give you a brief Wikipedia sounding ass description of it, but I can't, because it's so convoluted I had no idea what was happening half the time. To describe it in 1 sentence, it makes the story of Kingdom Hearts seem coherent. Yeah, exactly. The other issue, from time to time, there'd be a super gimmicky section that adds nothing to the experience, most notably this part where you have to point the PS Vita's camera at a real world light to proceed. You know, in a portable game where you may not always have access to a light. I was going to do an elaborate section here where I go on a bus and try and find a light source or something, but then I remembered the apocalypse is happening right now, and there's no way I'm dying over fucking Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation, and there were a bunch of games that just really missed the mark. Resistance Burning Skies was a spin-off of the beloved series Resistance, but if it wasn't Resistance, it was instead a super generic corridor shooter you beat in a few hours. Little Big Planet Karting took the wonder and imagination of the main series, combined it with the kart racing genre, and then removed the wonder and imagination to leave the most average kart racer of all time. Wonderbook Book of Spells was an augmented reality Harry Potter game that promised to make you feel like a wizard and immerse you in an enchanting world, and it nailed it. If by make you feel like a wizard you mean play a collection of tedious minigames, and if by immerse you in an enchanting world you mean fail to immerse you in an enchanting world due to technical difficulties.
Okay, well it is a live demo, so.
My cynical YouTuber and polite British sides are at odds right now because I just want to apologise for being so negative. This has all been such a bother, but I just really want to drive home here on the left side of the road how much of an uncharacteristically pedestrian period this was for PlayStation, because even the biggest PlayStation detractor must admit that one of the brand's biggest strengths is its ambition. In my previous video, where I ranked my personal high points of PlayStation, the one trait connecting every game I discussed is that ambition. Games that defined the generation, games that tried to do things that's never been seen before. Like, to a fault sometimes. The same cannot be said for these underdeveloped and or uninspired releases. However, this may seem trivial in the grand scheme of PlayStation's history. I mean, the early days of the PS3 exist, which had a game library so underdeveloped it didn't even exist. So, what pushes this period over the edge for you? Well, there were two more PlayStation exclusives released in this period that, to this day, mark the company's creative rock bottom for many. One is a game that's easily PlayStation's most controversial exclusive, until June 2020 at least. Do not read comments about this on YouTube or Reddit, darkness awaits. And the other is a game that most people have erased from their minds, but is easily PlayStation's biggest high-profile exclusive bomb. Let's look at this one first. According to everything but Reddit, Call of Duty is one of the biggest gaming series ever, so releasing an exclusive iteration on your new system, set between two of the most beloved entries of the franchise at that, is a genius move. What isn't a genius move is giving the already subpar developers, no offense, no wait, I did mean offense, less than 1 year to make it. The result is Call of Duty Black Ops Declassified, a game that should have remained classified. I always play COD for the multiplayer, so let's look at that first. If you suffer from chronic body pain and have been wanting representation in video games, play this one, because the character moves like every ligament has severe arthritis. The graphics are amazing for a PS1 game, the game has more crashes than PlayStation All-Stars, maybe not the best example to get my point across, and every time you shoot someone, they'll either die immediately or take 1,000,000 bullets, keep walking, you'll turn away because they should easily be dead, and then they die, which I don't think is lag because this happens even when you're the host with a perfect connection. So the core gameplay is a little off, but oh, the maps, yeah, let's look at those. These games are defined by their maps, and of course, it wouldn't be a Black Ops game without the beloved classic Nuke House, huh? Yeah, have you ever played Nuketown and thought, I don't know man, I like it, but it's just too big? Well, introducing Nuke House, which is Nuketown but split in half. Then there's Range, which is another Black Ops 1 classic firing range, but if the level design was some butchered, unholy incest hellspawn. Another Black Ops 1 map, Cracked, also returns in butchered form with Shattered. No, that's not even a synonym. Cracked refers to something that's only partially broken, whereas Shattered, according to Bing, refers to something that's completely broken. When the developers were fired for this game, I'm guessing they didn't become English teachers. So yeah, there's not only 6 maps in this entire game, but all of them are just butchered versions of already existing ones. And you couldn't even do that right, because 2 of them are from the Modern Warfare series, in this Black Ops game. One of these is the iconic Call of Duty 4 map, Shipment Container. You guys realise you have the rights to the series, right? You can just call it Shipment, and it's not even like this is some shady black market ripoff of the map like the other maps. This is literally just Shipment copy and pasted, miraculously. Okay, so the multiplayer is a train wreck, but remember, this is a Black Ops game, the series home to the greatest tertiary mode in gaming history, the Hostiles. Yeah, you know that survival horror mode that was so simple to program, it debuted as a hidden minigame? That was so simple to program, it was even ported to the, at the time, weaker smartphones? Well, let's not. Instead we have Hostiles mode. you're dropped into a multiplayer map like Shattered, fend off waves of soldiers, and at the end of each round get a crate with a random gun, ammo, or occasionally a turret that does nothing half the time. And that's it, that's the entire mode. You can get up to 3 stars depending on how many kills you get, that's cute I guess, but ultimately this is a painfully bare bones experience. But if all else fails, you can always rely on Call of Duty's campaign to provide a fantastic time, and it looks like they nailed it. Gritty environments spanning the globe, morally ambiguous characters entangled in a conspiracy, even the slow-mo breaches are here. You know, after everything else we've seen, I really didn't think they'd... what is that? Yeah, you can beat the campaign in 1 hour. And while it looks like a Call of Duty campaign, the execution is really uninspired. You just run from lifeless corridor to lifeless corridor, kill AI after AI for no reason, at least I think they're AI, although they don't seem to have programming half the time, and witness the biggest nothing of a story ever. Remember, this is meant to bridge the gap between Black Ops 1 and 2, but other than some cameos and a few lines by Woods that kinda sound like they could be by Woods, it has about as much connection to the Black Ops story as my personal life story. Again, maybe not the best example because in my previous video I defended Black Ops 1 to the point I took a banana to the face for it, but point is, fuck this game. So that's why I consider it PlayStation's worst exclusive. I mean sure, there's technically worse games that are exclusive to PlayStation, shout out to my Life of Black Tiger squad, but this was a game Sony pushed as a top title for one of their systems. That's like Nintendo pushing Room in the Night Sky as a Switch system seller, or Sony's PlayStation 4 launch lineup being spearheaded by Knack. Wait a minute. And the issue here isn't that the game sucked. In fact, despite all of these flaws, there are flashes of fun here. The later stages of Hostiles mode like Nuke House provide a solid challenge, and the multiplayer captures that fast pace of Call of Duty really well, although that's not hard when half of the maps are just half of the maps. The issue is the lack of polish and care. This game only exists to sell units for the holidays, and sure, you could argue most games exist for that reason, but PlayStation have a track record of delaying games until they're fleshed out and ready, and that sentiment just wasn't here this year, which is why it's their low point for me. Despite this, Declassified ended up being pretty forgotten about. Instead, the low point of PlayStation in many people's eyes was the mascot fighting game PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Until June 2020. Whenever the game is mentioned, most immediately dismiss it as a meme-worthy mistake. So, are we really looking at the worst of the worst here? Jumping into the campaign, we immediately face one of the biggest complaints about this game. Its roster. The Smash Bros. Games have incredible lineups filled with iconic characters, 95% of which from before the year 2000 for some reason.
Hey! I love that guy!
In comparison, All Stars has Cole McGrath, some hentai character, the other Metal Gear Solid character, and Lara Croft if all her games were the exact same. I personally like most of the picks here, although if PlayStation choked my grandmother to death with an iToy cable, I'd still love them, so I'm a little biased here. However, looking at it objectively, no vocal effect this time? Okay. It's definitely not up to its potential. It's a situation where the issue is more what isn't there. No Crash Bandicoot, Spyro, Sora, the actual Lara Croft. This was a big deal leading up to launch, and many didn't buy the game because of their disappointment with this. But were they right to not give the gameplay a chance? Starting the campaign, I'll think I'll play as Parappa the Rapper, because I'm something of a rap sensation myself. Getting into the gameplay, we face the second big criticism of this game. It's just a Smash Bros. Clone. And to that I say, how? In Smash Bros, you beat the shit out of children's characters until their cheery smile fades either due to no health or falling off a cliff. This is All Stars where you beat the shit out of animals but you can't actually kill them without a finishing move. So the dynamic of the game instead revolves around building the finisher meter up, the strategy of when to use them and which of the 3 finishers to use, and so on. I still play both the same way, blindly mashing buttons until I lose anyway, but the core mechanics promote a different playstyle than Smash.
The biggest similarity is how you fight across platforms, and even that feels different because in All-Stars, the level design constantly evolves throughout the match and provides opportunities to steal from your opponent's finisher meter when a stage hazard hits them. So they're definitely in the same general style of fighting game, but I think All-Stars does enough to differentiate itself, so I just don't see the comparison here. Is it because they're both gaming mascot fighters? Because yeah, I have no doubt this game only exists because PlayStation wanted an answer to Smash, but that's just how the gaming industry works. The Kinect was a response to the Wii's success, Nintendo Switch Online was a response to Xbox Live and PlayStation Network's success. Success used very loosely in regards to PlayStation Network there, so slamming the game just because of that is weak in my opinion. So when you take away the Smash comparison, is this game good? Well, I enjoy it, yeah. The controls are fast and responsive, there's a fair amount of depth to the combos, so there's a solid learning curve, and as I said, the dynamic environments idea adds a light element of 2D platforming, which adds another dimension to the strategy of your movement. However, what stops this game from being truly great is the fact that you can only kill people with a finisher. This kills a lot of the game's depth, because ultimately all that really matters in a match is if you press the finisher button at the right time, and then if your opponent pressed the dodge button at the right time. This is especially annoying in single player because it just makes the game feel luck based. If I perfectly hit my finisher but the NPC decides it's gonna dodge this one, I now have to build up my meter from the start again, despite doing nothing wrong. This has to be the only fighting game to make you feel powerless. So in conclusion, the fact that PlayStation All-Stars was the game that lived on in infamy here is baffling, honestly. Yeah, it has some notable flaws, but for their first attempt at this is a really solid effort, and absolutely undeserving of its reputation. In fact, I must have really liked this game because I not only got the Platinum Trophy, but I entered the horrible world of online multiplayer to get it, and I don't just do that for any game. Here's me before a match with some gentlemen that are just a little bit more experienced than I am, and here is the after photo. So as I was saying, fuck this game. Overall though, 2012 is indeed the low point of PlayStation in my opinion, because while eras like the early days of the PS3 were a wasteland, when a game did release, it was still high effort and high quality, whereas this was a PlayStation completely void of the standards that define them. Of course, the biggest impact of this was them experiencing their first and so far only mainline system bomb, the PS Vita. Most of its flagship exclusives in this vital launch window ranged from average to Jesus fuck, creating the infamous belief that it has no games. And despite it going on to have a phenomenal game library with classics like Uncharted Golden Abyss, Gravity Rush, Tearaway, Persona 4 Golden, Killzone Mercenary, Little Big Planet Vita, the best Killzone and Little Big Planet games in my opinion, it was too late. And this perception combined with its expensive ass memory cards, another mistake they made in this period, caused the system's swift downfall. So, we have now looked at my personal high points of PlayStation and what I consider the low point of PlayStation. So, how will we conclude this trilogy I've apparently been doing and definitely planned from the start? Well, since we've now looked at the notable games of their mainline systems, the trilogy ends with a look at the forgotten and bizarre history of PlayStation games on non-PlayStation systems. See you then.
I'm Elite Hacksaw with uber ponage, XD. You're a noob, so I'll wafflecopter like a boss as I make you an epic fail, rar. Then I'll post 2 girls, 1 cup to your MySpace profile, edited to Avril Lavigne, downloaded from LimeWire, :p, LMAO, LOL, Bombville.